Wi-Fi Vega, back again with another video. In this video we're going to cover how I built my little prototype box for the 8-inch MB Quarts. So first thing I do is take that middle piece out, and then I just use a piece of cardboard to trace the shape of the side so I could transfer that onto MDF. Now I'm just test fitting here and see how close I got it. And I've done the same thing on the other side. Now that I've got those finished, I'm ready to draw the outline of the outside of the mount for the 8-inch MB Quart. And once that's done, I just need to find center so I can drill my hole. Then I can take my compass and measure the actual depth that I need to cut out. Okay, now that I've got that marked out, I take my handy dandy little RotoZip and zip this circle out real quick. Now that I've got that circle complete, I'm going to go ahead and cut a few small pieces of scrap board here, and I'll use this to get the shape of my piece. Okay, I've got the pieces cut and glued in place, and this gives me a nice little frame. So now I can take this, set it in the Suburban, and we'll see how it fits. Okay, now that I've seen that piece works, it's time to move on to getting my shape. And the way I'm going to do that is using fleece and then fiberglass. So what I'm doing here is just cutting the fleece to size. That way I don't have too much overhang, and I'll staple it in place and just stretch it. That way I get a nice taut surface to lay my fiberglass down on. Now that I've got that in place, it's important that I take my scissors and I get it even closer, because any place that I lay fiberglass on is going to be a lot of body work later. So I want to trim that down as far as possible now. I'm using a regular fiberglass resin for this, and I'm going to mix the catalyst a little bit hot so that it cures a little bit faster, but it's going to give me less time to work. On the first coat I'm going to go really heavy, and that's the reason I use the fleece, because it soaks up the fiberglass really nice, and it's easy to stretch. And once I'm done with this, I can build it up later with glass mat. Now that the front's cured, I'm ready to add a middle divider, and I'm doing this because the speakers are going to be running stereo, so I can't have them sharing a common chamber. Now I'm going to have to trim this side piece up just a little bit, and all this is, it's a copy of one of the sides that I'm going to trim up to fit right in the middle. Now that the divider is cut and glued into place, we just need to lay our fleece down on the back and the bottom, and then lay our glass down. Just like before, we're laying on the fiberglass nice and thick, and something I neglected to mention was the fact that at the edges I'm really gluing it down, and I'm trying to get that fiberglass to soak through the fleece and bond to the wood. Now that the first layer is cured, I'm ready to start layering up my mat, and I do that by laying a little bit of glass resin down, and then I throw the mat on top of it, and that helps me build up a thicker layer. Now I'm taking small pieces of chop mat, and I'm trying to make sure that the cavity is sealed where I had any gaps before, and just lay that chop mat down and put a lot of resin on it, and it'll seal it right up. The second layer is cured now, so I'm going to go ahead and trim up everything I can with scissors before I start doing a little bit of grinding and body work to it. As you can see, I still got an air gap I need to fill, so I'm going to take some mat, cut it to size, and I'm going to lay some glass on it. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and glass the entire enclosure on the inside. as I'm glassing the inside of here, I'm going to go ahead and continue to add the mat, and I'm going to try to build up the corners as much as I can and get a lot of strength in there. And then once I've done with all that, I'm going to take whatever resin I have left and put it on the outside of the enclosure and try to build it up a little more. Now that it's cured up, I'm going to use my angle grinder to get the big stuff off, and anything that's left over I'll have to sand, so I'm going to take as much off as I can with this angle grinder. Okay, now I'm ready to put the mounting sleeve in. And since this is a prototype, I just went ahead and took a little bit of the extra fleece and put it on the front and sides just so it looks a little bit better while it's in the truck. To keep things simple, I just passed the wire through, use a little silicone. And now I'm going to fill this cavity up with polyfill to make it seem like it's in a little bit bigger airspace, since this is quite small for these speakers.
I'm on a new level.